There we go. Oh, I'm just dancing. I'm just dancing. I hear it. I feel it going on inside. It's all good.
Sunlight said coconuts. Yes. So we bring the sunshine and we bring the coconuts, which both are so good for you. So we are welcoming you, heart surfers. How are you today? So, listen, this podcast addresses owning our own emotional drama and identifying what we bring to our relationships. We believe healing starts within ourselves first. So, we bring to you a unique way of uncovering limiting beliefs about relationships by examining common uses of cliches. That's what we do. I hope you have seen some of the other ones, and we really, really would love for you to send just cliches that you may hear of if they're a part of your belief. We'd love to talk about it as well. My name is Sharon Reed, the Heart Lady, relationship specialist,
Well,
and this
aloha,
is
Sharon.
co host Dan, the Healing Man. Dan,
I'm here.
all
And
right.
all right. Aloha, Sharon. Aloha, heart surfers. I want to extend a wonderful greeting to all on this beautiful Friday morning and say, let's sway.
Love your new t shirt, Dan. It's gorgeous.
You know what sway stands for?
No, oh, well, I
Sending
know you're going to
waves
tell me.
across the universe.
Say that again.
Sending waves across the universe.
Oh,
And of
sending
course, they're
waves.
positive. So you see, we don't have to put anything in front of it because you and I, we focus on the positive energy of life over the negative energy because we know that exists. We're not
Yeah,
denying it. We're
right.
saying emphasize the positive energy. And one of those is the most positive energy is love, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And when you think about love, you think about the heart, don't you, heart lady? Because that's probably the most popular symbol for love, isn't it? And there's
Absolutely.
a connection there between the heart and love. And that leads us to our cliche today. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Mm.
Or I can't help falling in love with you. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
I've heard that. Yeah, mainly in conversations with us women, it's like I can't help falling in love with him. He's so beautiful. He gives me everything that I want and I need, and they're so enamored into this person. So yes, I've heard it.
And love is the most beautiful and powerful force, bar none.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
it's something that I've shared this with you before, that love is something that we are born with, that it is part of our DNA. In fact, I see love as essential to our existence as oxygen. And it
Mm,
brings up, isn't it funny? We've talked about this before, how so many songs have these phrases, love is like oxygen. And without oxygen, we can't live. And without
hmm
love, we can't live either.
I truly
Love
believe,
is
yeah,
a necessity. So it seems very natural then that it is something that we continue to seek and desire
yeah.
right from the get-go, right? Even before we're born,
hmm
we're already putting out that energy of love
Wow.
within the womb to others. And that's why others are gravitating towards it. They're
hmm
gravitating towards that love that's coming from within the womb. Or when a baby is born, everyone gravitates for the most part towards newborn babies. A
Yeah.
red flag would be somebody who moves away from a newborn
hmm
baby, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know that there's something going on there with that person in terms of their own emotional
Emotional. Yeah.
attachment or void of something that's going on, a heart wall.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about heart walls.
Yeah.
And so when we recognize that love is pure, love is natural, love is part of who we are until something happens. And I call that someone says to us that you have to behave in a certain way to get love.
Mhm. Yeah,
And to me,
absolutely.
that's where love is now being really confused with this idea of earning it, deserving it,
Yeah.
instead of recognizing in its natural state, there's
Mhm.
no need for performance. There's no need to do anything to give or receive love. And so the reason I'm saying this is because somehow along the way, what is natural and part of who we are
Mhm.
becomes confused with what I like to call another feeling and emotion, fear and control.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so others start telling us that if you want my love, you have to do this. You have to act in this way. You have to perform in this way. So now all of a sudden, love is now something that is more attached to an action. And based on that action, you can be rewarded with love, or based on that action, love can be taken away.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the reason that it's important for us to have this kind of an awareness is to teach us how love has been really confused into fear.
Mm.
And now what happens is when we get into this relationship with someone and we're older, our whole idea of love now is more based on the teachings of our primary teachers, more often than not our parents, about how love is something that you have to act in such a way to get.
Mhm.
And so people now are connecting love with fear rather than its natural state.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's a
Yeah.
sad thing. And yet it happens to most of us
Mhm.
because others have been taught the same thing
Mm.
about
Mhm.
what love is.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I can see your point on love, where people are doing things to please others so that they can feel or be loved. And as we know that whom we love or whom we say we love also is a mirror reflection of ourselves. I believe that not only does some people call love, do if you love me, do what I ask, but it's also very much be who I want you to be.
Mhm.
And when as you said earlier, when you have to change who you uniquely are, then that becomes a problem. You may have to change some attitudes which come with growth and maturity and really getting a better understanding on who you are, because some of your characteristic attributes could be through some emotional trauma from what you've learned from past relationships, whether it's with a intimate relationship or a relationship that you may have had with a caregiver. And so there are things that one will love you through it, even though. And that's why coaching and counseling and therapy is so important, when you know that you have things that have not been resolved within yourself. So if you know that you think that, well, I'm always angry, or I'm always sad, or this triggers me, or I don't know why I say this, why I do that, then those things should be definitely investigated. But when we think about the heart knows, or um, love is love, or I want what I want. I think I want what I want, as far as it refers to love, is that especially this generation, a lot of the love is based on attraction.
Mhm.
And it may even be based on, okay, we have good chemistry together. And just because we have good chemistry together does not necessarily mean that that's our love interest. And so we want what we want is, and we love who we love is always a choice. And just because we really love this person or we have this feeling of affection for this person does not necessarily mean that they are our love interest, the person that we can choose to be a life partner with, if that's your thing, because not everybody wants a life partner. They may just want, a companion ever so often. But if you are one who believes in a monogamous marriage, then, it's not just the heart wants what it wants, or I love who I love. And I do believe love is colorblind, and that we do have this uh, um chemistry or this attraction to people, and those people that we are attracted to are there to help us grow. But I think that we need to use discernment when we say, just because, oh, I like this guy or I like this girl, she's cute, she makes me feel this way, I feel like I can be myself. We still want to be able to use discernment and examine and give some time for the relationship to grow and to come out of that phase of like, oh, everything is great. And now you see the idiosyncrasies. And then you're like, did I make a mistake? Maybe I don't love this person the way I thought I loved this person. So we just really are sharing the fact that let's have some patience in the relationship, and let's really uh, talk about the values that you have that you want in a relationship. A lot of times, because there hasn't been this meaningful conversations about where you would like your future to be and what you would like for yourself, those things get lost in the euphoria. The serotonin and the dopamine kick in, but when it begins to frizzle out after about 18 months, then you get to see the real person. So, you know, love at first sight, we talked about that in our other episodes. Please check it out.
We have.
Loving your best friend, we've talked about that in other episodes. So, I think that
We
it really
have.
is about your discernment. And just because you really love this person does not necessarily mean that they are the best choice for your life partner, if that's what you're looking for.
Well,
So,
here's what I want to say in relationship. You know, you talked about trauma, and
mm,
trauma is a big part of most people's lives. Everyone has gone through some form of trauma to one extent or another. Now, how much of an extent that has affected the way we love, including who we choose to love. And I believe that we get into a pattern based on our prior experiences in life where we are attracted to a certain type of person based on what we have learned about love and
mm,
how we have to perform for love. So, what happens is because love gets confused with fear and control, we only know love in that manner. That's what's
mhm.
safe and comfortable and familiar to us, which is why abuse continues from one generation to the next
Next,
because of
yes.
that confusion. And so when people say the heart wants what the heart wants,
Mhm.
it's the heart is confused now with the whole idea of love and what love is and how
Mm,
love is either given or received based on what we have learned in our previous relationships. And
right.
that's why I believe that people get caught up in a pattern. If they ever took a look at themselves in their relationships, they may see that pattern of who they're attracted to, the type of person that they're attracted to. And I don't necessarily mean physical characteristics. I go beyond that, right? In
Mhm.
terms of their
Yeah.
personality type and who that person is. It goes beyond the pheromones. We know that pheromones are powerful and that we're
Mhm.
physically attracted to people. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's a beautiful thing to be celebrated. It doesn't mean we have to act on those pheromones
Right.
every time we feel that attraction to someone. We have that choice to say yes or no. At this, and even flirting. We've talked about that before. We can flirt with people that we're physically attracted to.
Hmm.
At what point do we have to decide, though, that we want to go further in this relationship? Well, we always have that choice. Now, what happens, though, is we have this subconscious that drives most of our actions and behaviors. That's
Hmm.
where coaching helps because often we're not aware of the type of person that we may be attracted to. We've
That's
heard
right.
this said on many occasions, how, to use a phrase, how good girls are attracted to bad boys, right?
Oh yeah, we need to do that one. We need
And
to do that
it's
cliche.
it's very similar
Absolutely.
because there's this attraction to someone else, even though they may not be quote unquote good or healthy for us.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
yet somehow we still find ourselves attracted to them and we find ourselves in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And we ask ourselves, as you said, maybe 12 or 18 months down the road, how did I get here? How did
Yeah.
I get into this
Right?
relationship?
Who is this person? I can't believe this is who I really fell in love with. Because you fell in love and you didn't grow in love. So yes, absolutely.
And then what we tend to do, right, is we say, well, it's that person, it's not me. And yet, if we really look at ourselves in an honest way, when we look in the mirror, we say, no, it's me. I'm the one that has been continuously attracted to the
Right.
same kind of person. What's that all about?
Right.
Do I
Right.
even know? Do I have an awareness?
Yeah.
And that's where is coaches, you and I can help people have that awareness that they're blind to as
Yeah.
far as what's driving them in their seeking of love.
Yeah.
I believe it's the confusion of what love is.
Yeah.
They have confused the whole idea of love that they were born in naturally, that they didn't have to earn or deserve or perform for, and that they could just give freely and receive freely to now this is something that has to be bought and paid for.
Get you. So Dan, what would you say? What, two or three tips that you would give a client or say to a client who says, well, I love him anyway. I love her anyway. You know, I love who I love. And, other people may say that this person is not good for me. My family says that they're not good for me. They see characteristics in that individual that I don't see. And I really love this person. And I want to give this person a chance because my heart says that
Well,
I love
one of
this
the things,
person. What would you say?
I often say is you can love them all you want. It doesn't mean you have to be in a relationship with them. That's your choice.
Mhm.
So we're not saying you can't love the person. What we're saying to the person is, yes, your love, and we've said this before, doesn't mean that you are imprisoned in this relationship with this person. That you are still free to leave the relationship. And if you don't feel that you are in a position of freedom to leave the relationship, then there has to be something else going on that you feel like you're not enough for that person or yourself. Most importantly, self, right? So for me, the tip is always a self exercise, a self exercise of love, saying,
Mm.
I'm enough. And, I've said this before, and I say it with humor. I'm all that in a bag of chips. I'm enough for me first.
Hmm.
And out of that being enough for me first, I choose to be in a relationship with others who complement me over complete me because I'm already complete. And once I recognize that I'm already complete, now I can stop that cycle of getting into what I would say are destructive relationships or unhealthy relationships with others. And that to me is freedom.
Right. So yeah, it does. It is a freedom, and maybe the person is not afraid to leave, but really wants to stick it out and try to make love work. So which can that statement I just made can go into
I
another
was going to say
cliche.
something to
love,
that.
love is work. So that could go into something else. But I do agree with you as far as the fact is that just because you love someone doesn't mean, I have a client who really loves this individual, but he's in the middle of a divorce, and the things and the demands that she wants from the man he can't give. And so you kind of really have to question, how is that love interest going to last? And
Well, listen
so mhm,
to the word demands.
mhm.
Demand has
Yeah, she
nothing to do
wants
with
what she
love.
wants and she
Demands has
can't get
everything to
it.
do with control.
Right. And it's not so much controlling her and her trying to control, but she wants what she wants from someone who really can't give. And so she's hanging on, waiting for the time to give. And so this is a trap that a lot of, couples fall into, especially when they have not finished one relationship and are bringing in another relationship at the same time. It's just not the really healthiest emotional choice at that time. Is because that other person is filling a void, and both of you are filling your voids and not recognizing the reality of what's happening to the healing that they're not, people are not recognizing the reality of the stirring of those emotions because they are so entangled in different, I would use the word energies. They're so entangled in different energies. This the woman wants the man to be there when she needs her to be there, and she loves, and she's waiting for this divorce. He's trying to make peace with the person who they're trying to divorce, and still try to make the other person happy in a divorce. That's a lot.
That's a
That's a lot.
lot. Well, I
That's
think
a
that
lot.
person would have to also explore their previous relationships. Is this person choosing people who are not really emotionally available?
And
And that could be a
bingo.
pattern as well, that people
Yes.
choose that certain type of person for a reason. And it often comes back to, it's like self-sabotage, right? That
Hmm.
that I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And so I choose people then who will reinforce my own view of myself.
Yeah. So, which I had said earlier, right? It's teaching you a lesson about yourself, and it could be a mirror image because the universe shows you what you need. And if you haven't learned certain lessons, it just keeps on coming around till it knocks you down till you get it. It's like, oh, that's what you were talking about. Unfortunately, a lot of the times it's too late. So we ask that if you are going through that cycle, find an interventionist like relationship specialist Sharon, the Heart Lady, and the radical man, Dan the Man. So with that being said, we really would love for you all to join in. We are looking forward to going live. So we will be sending out messages of going live on YouTube. We're going through learning the technical kinks of all of that good stuff. We'll go live on Facebook as well. So we are learning and growing ourselves. So at the more that we learn this, the more that you will also get the opportunity to chime in. All right. So, Dan the Healing Man, you got any last words? It's hard to find a good quote for this one. I don't know, because there are so many quotes, but I didn't find the real good quote that talks about the heart wants what it wants. And so I'm just going to say that's the quote. The heart wants what it wants.
Well, you know
Love
what?
wants what it wants. Go ahead.
I think it comes down to this though. We're not saying the heart can't want what it wants.
Hmm.
That's fine. The feeling of love, the pure feeling of love, the genuine feeling of love, you can always do a check with yourself about it, right? It's a great
Okay.
thing. Do a
Right.
check-in with yourself about love. What a beautiful feeling that is. As soon as it feels like it's clogged, or
Mm.
in some ways, kind of like how what happens to a drain, it gets clogged, right? So the heart being a pump, if it feels clogged, or if it feels like it's kind of stuck or not operating at full capacity,
Yeah.
that's something to be aware of, and say to myself, okay, what's going on here?
Hmm.
What's happening?
Hmm.
And when we can have that kind of self-awareness, that's powerful. And
Powerful.
so love can want whatever heart wants to love. That's beautiful, as long as we recognize that it's not this kind of love that is so conditional, that
Yeah.
is so connected to others and our behavior of performance, of reward or punishment. And when we can love freely, well, can you feel the difference?
Hmm. You absolutely can.
Just feel that in your body, right? The freedom of love feels so different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's all I would say is just do that check in with self about love. And you know the difference between that freedom of love and that imprisonment that comes with that fear and control.
Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here. Thank you so much, Heart Surface, our heart family, with the podcast Healing Me. Before we look forward to you joining us again. Look out for another episode.
Aloha, let's sway.